Hi students, I welcome you all for control system lectures. In the previous class we have discussed what is the steady state error, and we have derived the steady state error in terms of type 0, type 1, type 2 and type 3 systems. And we also discussed the topic of initial value theorem and final value theorem. They expressed a steady state error by making use of final value theorem and initial value theorem. Right? So in this class we are going to discuss what is the stability. The system is said to be stable if you have a bounded input and bounded output. Right? If you are giving certain input to the system, if your system is working under a certain boundaries, right, certain operating region within your control, then the system is said to be in the stable condition. Okay. For example, we'll consider an example. You have a flat surface where I have a roll, and if you are placing a roll on the flat surface, it will be stable until unless an external force applied on it. So if you are applying external force, it will try to deviate. And my objective is to place this roll in between, in the middle of the plank. So to make this roll to place at the middle of the plan, what I am trying to do is I am balancing it, right? I am balancing it and making it to stay on the middle of the system, middle of the plank, right? So it is under control and it is said to be stable. It is stable like by applying external force on it. Like I am actually controlling it, right? If I want to express this in terms of a mathematical expression, I need to express in terms of a transfer function, right? So here the transfer function you can see here y of s by x of s, which has the coefficients of b naught b1 so on bm minus 1 as a numerator coefficients of s, and denominator if you see there are a naught a1 so on a of n minus 1 n as a denominator coefficient s coefficients. So if I am writing this numerator and denominator in terms of characteristic equation, I can segregate the poles and zeros. So the numerator of the transfer function, which I can represent in terms of roots, are referred as zeros. Right? So if I am representing the denominator roots by using the characteristic equation, what is characteristic equation? If I am equating the denominator to 0 and finding the roots of the function, then the roots you found are said to be poles. And if you equate the numerator to 0 and find the roots of the numerator, then the roots of the numerator is said to be zeros. Right? So, if, as this S plane we have discussed in the previous class as well, but we'll have a small recap of it. As you see here, we have a S plane in which S plane is consist of right hand plane, left hand plane, origin, and imaginary axis. J omega is imaginary axis, right? So if the system, whatever the system we are representing, if we need to tell whether the system is in stable condition or unstable condition, based on the roots of the characteristic equation, we can define it, right? Whatever the system we can represent in terms of a transfer function, and once we represent in terms of a transfer function, if you are considering the denominator of the transfer function and equating it to 0, we can find the roots of it. And that roots, if the roots are positive, if the roots are positive, then you can place the roots on the right half of S plane. That means the right hand side. If your roots are negative, you can place the roots on the left hand side. So if the root is equal to 0, that means the root at origin. So based on the location of the roots, we can actually estimate the stability of the control system, right? So in other words, we can tell the poles as the frequency at which the system becomes infinity. The frequency at which the system becomes infinity is defined as poles. Similarly, when the frequency at which the system becomes zero, frequency at which the system becomes zero is referred as zeros. Right? So basically, we won't bother about zeros at the initial state, right? Zeros are important, but initial state when you are considering stability, and I want to give a clarification before entering that. There are two types of stability. One is absolute stability, the other one is relative stability. Basically, absolute stability we define based on poles itself. We don't bother of what the zero's position is about. Even if the zero is on the right half of S plane also, it could be stable if you are considering absolute stability. And relative stability is something we can tell the time taken for the system to reach its stability. Suppose the system is having oscillations or some kind of a transient, what time will get the stable response? That is, what time will get the steady state, right? As we discussed, what is steady state previous class. So steady state is something which reaches the constant value once the transit get over, right? So at what time I will get that? Based on that particular time, the relative stability can be estimated. Okay. Yeah, as I mentioned, absolute stability and relative stability. And if the poles, whatever the poles we are considering, the denominator roots, if you are equating it to zero, right? Then if you are getting the poles as negative values, negative poles, then we can set to have the poles on left half of S plane. Those poles makes the system stable. If you have if you have more than one pole, or like poles, all the poles lying on the left half of S plane, then the system is said to be stable. If you have the poles on right half of S plane, right, you can see here, if you have the poles on right half of S plane, the system is said to be unstable. And similarly, if you have a pole on the imaginary axis, it is said to be marginally stable. Okay. The poles, if you have on the imaginary axis, it is said to be, it may go to, that is also called a verge of instability. Like, suppose in this example, if I am giving extra force on this, it may go out, right? I am balancing it. But see, this is what instability is about, like unstable. Okay? If you are having a pole on the origin, it may go to unstable region or a stable region, right? So if you see the poles of S plane is like, so I mentioned the poles as X there. If you see, the poles are lying on the left half of S plane. So by finding the characteristic equation, if you get this kind of poles, right? Suppose for example, S 1 by S plus 2, S plus 3, right? Consider this as S plus 2 and this as S plus 2, S plus 3. If you are equating S plus 2 and S plus 3 is equal to 0, what do you get poles as? S equal to minus 3, S equal to minus 2, right? So this is called left half of plane where negative poles will be there. Like this is minus 2 and this is minus 3. So this kind of poles if we have, and there are no other poles lying on the right hand side, then this system is said to be stable system. We'll solve some numerical problems so that you will get clarity on how we can define the system. Like if I want to draw a tree, initially what we consider is a physical system, and physical system we are representing in terms of a mathematical expression, and that mathematical expression is a transfer function, and that transfer function, where the denominator of the transfer function, we are equating it to 0. When you are equating it to 0, whatever the poles are roots, right? Basically roots, that roots, if it is in the denominator, we mention it as a poles. If it is actually is equal to negative values, right, then system is stable. If they are positive values and lying on the right hand side, it is unstable. As simple as that. Then even if I am considering that 0 here, you can see here 0 here, right? That though, like as I said, at the initial value when I am calculating absolute stability, whatever the position of 0, it doesn't matter to me. The system is still stable because we are bothered only the pole location, right? Then similarly, see if you see here, I mentioned a pole here and 0 on left hand side, and there is one pole on the right hand side. If you have any number of poles on the left hand side, say 100 poles on the left hand side, but one pole on the right hand side will make the system unstable, right? So it is very important for us to consider 0 poles, like no poles on the right hand side. This is one example, and as I mentioned, we are bothered only on the pole location, not zero. See, if you observe the zero there, you can see here there is a zero, right? So that zero is actually on the right hand side. Still, the system is stable because the poles are lying on the left hand side, right? Then when we can say the system is said to be marginally stable, like oscillating, like it may go to instability or it will come back to a stable region. When you have the pole on origin, so this actually, if any external force or disturbance occurs on the system, basically when you are trying to make this like once the system is stabilized, what if you get external force? Like it will fall. Like because see, this is actually the words of instability. When an external force applies or disturbance comes to a plant, it will go to unstable region. At the same time, it actually if the force is not like better enough or a very little force where your system would able to control it, right? Then the system can come back to stable region. Okay. So if you have a complex pulse, it doesn't matter actually. It is only the pole location which is left hand side. So if you have this kind of poles on the left hand side, the system is still said to be stable. Okay, we'll see some examples where actually the pole on the real axis and on the imaginary axis. Like what makes the difference actually? If you have like old poles, whatever we see old examples, the poles are lying on the real axis, right? But here, if you observe, the poles are actually on like imaginary axis. Poles and zeros are imaginary axis. What makes the difference in the system stability? Okay, we'll take some numerical examples. While solving those numerical examples, you'll understand how that complex pole will influence your system response. Right? So here actually we have complex conjugate poles which are lying on the origin axis like j omega axis. This system is actually marginally stable. Like as we said, whatever the pole is on origin or the j omega axis, it's one and the same. It may go to unstable region or it may come back to stable region. Right? Okay, then coming to the topic of relative stability. Relative stability is about the time taken for the process to get to the stable region. Suppose when you are giving a step input, like as the bike example we discussed in the previous class, previous to previous two classes before, I guess. What we discussed, like if you're increasing, like if you want to travel in a bike about 40 kilometers per hour, what we give is the accelerator. When you are increasing the speed of an accelerator, if you are increasing your accelerator action, the speed will increase, and at one point we'll make the accelerator constant so that we'll reach the steady state. Right. So why I am considering this example is if the time taken for your bike to reach your set point is a transient, right? Relative stability is the time for which the pole tells the transient actually. See, one more important point I want to tell you here is if the pole is actually near to the origin, the pole is near to the origin, then the response of the system will be quick, faster. It will be very fast. And if you are setting up the, say, for example, bike, you want to travel at 50 kilometers per hour, the time taken for the speed to reach 50 will be less. Within 5 seconds, it may go, right? Compare it to if the pole lying away from the origin. If you consider pole away from the origin, like infinitely far from the origin, then the time taken for the system to respond will be high. For example, if the pole near to the origin may take 5 seconds to reach its stable region, but if the pole lying away from the origin is correspondingly have more time, it will take more time to reach its steady state. Right? I hope it was clear. Relative stability depends on the pole location actually. It is stable, whatever the system is, it is stable, but it actually tells the transient actually. Like how much time it will take for the system to reach that point. So let us consider an example to estimate the stability of the system. G of s is equal to C by S plus B. Right? In this example, substitute A is equal to 1, B equal to 3 and C equal to 10. So the transfer function will be 10 by S plus 3. So S plus 3 is equal to 0 as the characteristic equation is equal to 0. What is the pole? Pole is minus 3. So when it is coming to minus 3, then the system is said to be on left half of S plane. So it is said to be stable. Right? So consider this plant here. When you are giving a certain input to the plant, the bounded input, you should get the bounded output. That is what the stability is about. So, but what is this bounded input and bounded output actually? When the input initial value and the final value of the input is within your desired level, we can now in this example u of t is 1 for the whole time scale. That means for all the time value we know the amplitude of the input, that is 1. So this is actually bounded because we know the value of it. It is not going anywhere and it is not infinite. It is a known value and real value which is like certain variable which we know it. Right? So if you are giving an external input to the system, when you are getting the output as a bounded output, that means the output also, the final value of output also within our region, and we should know the value of it. That means it is in our boundary. That is what we call it as a bounded output. If you see the example here, the plant, whatever the plant we consider is just a black box. You are giving certain input to the black box, and whatever you are getting is e power at actually. E power at, do you know the final value of e power at? Like, we don't know where exactly it is going to infinite. Right? So this kind of outputs actually producing infinite value are said to be as unstable systems. So consider two examples here where we have one pole on right hand side and one pole on left hand side here. So when you are giving certain input to these particular systems, what happens like this actually S plane is actually tells the like we define S planes in frequency domain. Once we convert by applying inverse Laplace transform, whatever we see is a time domain signal. The time domain signal should be within the limit. Like consider u of s as a certain input like impulse or step input. Okay, let us consider step input. If you are giving a step input, u of s is equal to 1 by s square, right? What is the Laplace transform of step? Is 1 by s square. When you are giving 1 by s square on u of s, then like what if you are sending that u of s on right hand side, the s square will be in the denominator, right? Apply the final value theorem. Just take the apply final value. What is the final value theorem? Limit s tends to 0, s into f of s. Right? Substitute that f of s as u of s by u of s divided by s plus 3 and check apply the inverse Laplace transform. You would get this kind of response. The initial state is 1 and drastically it will come to 0. Right? So this is actually the initial value and final value is within our bounds. We can know it since the exponential value of a negative term decays the response, right? So the response what we get the final value will be 0. Therefore, the system is within the boundary and it is actually stable. But if you observe here, the second plot for S for the unstable pole, that is the right hand side pole, S equal to 3. What you get if you apply the inverse Laplace transform is e power 3t, right? Then the exponentially increasing response will get where the initial value is known but the final value is unknown. Right? It is infinite. So this kind of systems are actually the unstable systems. So coming to the gist of stability, we need to consider a transfer function. Initially, you have to consider a physical system, convert the physical system in terms of a mathematical model, represent in terms of a transfer function, and the transfer function here should be a proper transfer function. What is proper transfer function? If the numerator factor, like order of the numerator should be less than the order of the denominator. denominator order should be greater than the numerator order. All the examples here which we gave down there are actually proper systems, proper transfer functions. You can observe the order of the transfer function here is s square, but the order of the transfer function here is s. First example. So here the order of numerator is greater than order of the denominator, so proper transfer function. Similarly, all the other three. So now by using these transfer functions, initially actually the transfer function would be in this form. We have to make the transfer function in terms of roots. We have to represent the transfer function in terms of roots. Then only we can estimate the stability based on the pole location. Right? If the pole is on left hand side, we can tell it is stable, and if it is on the right hand side, then it is unstable. Right? We need to calculate poles and zeros of the system. Determine the order of the system. Calculate the poles and zeros. Like once we apply this like pole zero combination, then implement on S plane, right? Locate the pole, estimate the pole location. Based on that, we can estimate the stability. This is one way of estimating the stability. The other way of estimating the stability is using Routh-Hurwitz criteria. So the point here is, if you are having the transfer functions in a root and the transfer order of the transfer function is about 2 to 3. See the second example, maximum order of the transfer function is 3. What if you have an order of the transfer function more than 5, 6 or some 10 or 20? Can we estimate the poles for a transfer function? Can we convert the transfer function in terms of this pole zero way? I mean roots. Like to convert actual transfer function, suppose you have a transfer function of k s by something s power 10 plus s power 2 s power 9 10th order, or say more than 10th order. To write that in terms of roots itself is very difficult. So for this aspect, Routh-Hurwitz is a scientist. He actually proposed a method to estimate the stability based on Routh-Hurwitz criteria. Right? We'll discuss what it is and how to estimate the stability.